Today I want to share with you a new tarot deck I got. It is the ViceVersa Tarot. It is a low Scarabeo deck by Massimiliano Filadoro and the artwork by Davide Corsi. I've seen this deck online and it intrigued me because it's a little bit, actually quite a lot, different from the normal kind of tarot decks that we have. So it is a traditional deck in that it has your standard 78 cards, but yeah, I'll show you in a second the interesting component or aspect of this deck. I have taken the plastic off just so that you didn't have to watch me do that, but that is all I have done to the deck. So let's just talk about the box very quickly. It is just a standard cardboard box. There was nothing fancy or special about it at all, which is yeah, I like to have the fancy boxes, but typically decks that I enjoy, I put them in their own little tarot bag. So if this is one that I do enjoy working with, then it will get its own bag in no time at all. Right, so if we open up the box, we've got your cards, and then we've got a little guidebook. So let's just have a look at the little guidebook. It really is just a little guidebook, isn't it? Okay, so it says ViceVersa Tarot, and it's got a picture on it. Inside, on the index, oh I see, okay, so it's telling us that it comes in, let's just open it nicely, it comes in 5 different languages. So you've got English first, Italian, Spanish, French, sorry, and Portuguese. So those are the languages that are in this little guidebook. We have symbols here showing us that what the symbol for the pages, the symbol for the knights, for the queens and the kings, card samples, and I'm assuming that's a little spread that they're going to give us over the page. Alright, we have one image here, a different approach to reading. So at this point I'll explain to you what it is about this particular deck that intrigued me and got me interested, is the fact that these cards don't have backs to them. They do have backs, but what you have is the card front, and then when you flip the card over, the reverse, the back of the card, is the same image but from a different perspective. So yeah, I thought that was quite intriguing, and that was one of the reasons why I needed to get my hands on this deck. So obviously they're explaining that over there for us, how to read the ViceVersa Tarot. There they're saying that the ViceVersa Tarot present multi-dimensional figures, giving us the opportunity to virtually enter the card itself and to explore the environment in which the figures move. So I think that's actually quite interesting and exciting. Okay, oh, there's the spread that we saw just now, the image that we saw of the spread, giving you cards 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then here we have the information on the major arcana. So what they've given on each of them, just looking here, is 0, the full, front, and back. So they're giving you the interpretation if you're looking at the front of the card, and they're giving you interpretation if you've turned the card over and you're looking at the reverse of the card. And they've done that for each of the major arcana, which is great. So you know what that in effect actually means is that each card has 4 different ways of reading it, or 4 different interpretations, because you've got its face up value, its turned over value, its face up reversed, and it's turned over reversed. So wow, 4 different ways of reading each card. That is certainly adds a little bit of depth to your readings, doesn't it? Alright, so we've got all the major arcana, and here we're on to the minor arcana, and I see they've just given a couple of keywords. So we've got the chalices, the pentacles, the wands, and the swords, and they've given you just a couple of keywords, but they haven't stipulated in the keywords which is the right way up or the flipped over card version. So we'll have to figure that one out for ourselves, and after that it goes into the next language. So the guidebook is really thin. That's all we have, just those couple of pages for English, but you know what, that's probably enough. Alright, let's go into the cards and have a look and see what we have here. Making sure I got all the cards out of the box. Right, so let's have a look. The first thing that I notice with the card is cards are that they are quite a nice size. I do have fairly small hands, and that they fit quite nicely. Even though we've got all the 78 cards, they're not overly thick, which means the cardstock is fairly thin but firm. That they're nice and glossy. I'm sure you can see the gloss there with the light above us. So they are quite glossy, but I like they're quite narrow. They're quite small, but they fit quite nicely and comfortably in the hands, and I would imagine they would be quite nice to shuffle. I have not shuffled them as yet. We can just see that they all have this little bar at the bottom here, which will obviously have, in this case, it's got the card number in Roman numerals. It doesn't have the actual name of the card. And then when we get onto the minor arcanas, it's got the symbol and the, let's just have a look, get another one there, the symbol or the suit and the actual card number, which is quite nice. And like I said, they do feel quite nice in the hands. They're nice and small. I like the size of them actually. Alright, so putting the cards down, and we're going to go through them. I'm not going to take us through every single one of them because we'll be here for a month of Sundays, but I just want to have a quick flip through and then do a little read with them. So the first card we have is the Fool. So we have, looking at it here, quite a traditional Fool card. We have the Fool approaching the cliff. He's got his knapsack, he's got his bag, he's got everything. He's not really focused on where he's going, so that's all quite standard. What is lying down here, I don't know if you can see. Let me actually see if I can zoom. Might make life a little bit easier for everybody if we can zoom up, but then you get a shadow of my camera, so maybe not so much. Sorry guys for that. So what we have here is a crown and his cup or his chalice, which has fallen over. So that would say to me that he's leaving the good life. He's leaving behind the life as he knows it and as he's familiar with it, and he's just moving on. So remembering the whole thing with these cards is that the front and the back are different images of the same perception of the card. So here we have the standard Rider Waite kind of symbolism, and if we flip the card over, oh wow, look at that. So the first thing that jumps at me is the shooting star. There is the dog. I did notice that there wasn't a dog on the front of the card, but here we have the dog at the back. We can see the chalice, we can see his crown, we can see the night sky and the shooting star. So from this perspective, the shooting star is maybe just a confirmation and a reminder that everything's actually going to be okay. Because remember, it's lucky to see a shooting star. So that's quite interesting. The next card we have is our good old faithful magician, and because we've just noticed the shooting star that came through there, here it is again. So I wonder if it's saying that they are so connected and so close to each other, these two. So here we have the magician again. It's typical kind of imagery. Him standing at his table. He's got all the suits at the table. He's got his finger pointed down. He's holding his wand in the other hand. He's got the infinity symbol above his head. So giving you the potentials and everything that is available. Looking at the back of him, we have the Kabbalah, the tree of life, on the back of his cloak, which is phenomenal. We can see the table and we can see glimpses of the things on the table, but actually we can't really see what he's doing. So from this view, we have the flowers, and we have a flower that's coming through the concrete here as well, which I think is also quite interesting. I love the colours and the sunset and whatever's taking place in the back, and how everything is just so illuminated. It's absolutely stunning. High Priestess. So here we have again quite a standard Rider Waite type of symbolism here. The scroll that's normally in her lap is now lying on the floor, which is interesting. But everything else, the colouring and everything is stunning and beautiful. Let's flip her over and have a look at the back. So on the back of her chair there is what it looks like an angel type of symbol there. We've got flames which are hidden behind the curtain, a blue flame and a red flame, obviously giving us the yin and the yang, masculine and feminine. And then here we have a pillow, this blue pillow over here, and it has a silver and a gold key on it. So the two keys giving us the yin and the yang, and the keys are the opportunities to everything, so to open the doors, which is quite awesome. Alright, so let's just pick up the pace, because so obviously when working with these cards we need a way of knowing if we're looking at the traditional front view or if we're looking at the back view. And one of the things that I've noticed is in the corner here is a little symbol of a flower, and every card has them. But when you're looking at the front of the card, the little flower symbol is on your right hand side, and when you turn the card over, when you're looking at the back of the card or the other perspective, the little flower is on the left. So that is how you will know which which way up you're looking at. So here we have our Emperor. I just want to bring it a little bit closer for you. So we have our Emperor. We have the back of the Emperor. Absolutely stunning. These cards are truly awesome. So here we have our Hierophant. He's sitting there doing his thing. He's teaching, he's sharing, he's imparting knowledge, he's empowering, he's doing all of those kind of things. He's got his loyal people watching over him, or listening and hanging on to his every word. At his feet, very interestingly, are the keys. There's the silver key and the gold key at his feet, which are probably the same keys that we saw in the High Priestess. So it just shows how the two of them are actually connected. Right, and if we flip him over, we've got the back end. Oh, how absolutely gorgeous. So here we have a little fat cherub baby holding a key. We have a statue of a woman, a very full-bosomed woman. She's probably the mother figure. We have the apple cut in half with the seeds exposed and showing. So it's showing you the seeds of life. It's showing you the creation, the beginning, the chance to do over. So even though he's all knowing and all prepared and all full of knowledge, you know, everything is starting over and everything is a fresh new start. I love it. So many ways of interpreting these cards. So the major Arcana cards, the front face of it, where you have it seems to be quite traditional, and then the back gives you just a different perspective, which I think is just absolutely amazing. Here we have the Chariot. Sorry, let me put them down again so it's easier to see. We have the Chariot. Moving on, the ground is collapsing. So here, you know, the Chariot is always telling you about moving forward and being focused on where you're going and what you're doing and all of those kind of things. But we've never understood why. And the why is here behind us. And why is the fact that the road is disappearing. We have a ruin there too, by the way, which I've just noticed that you would have to look up what that ruin stands for. There's also a chain on either side of his wheels. And you can see the road is disintegrating, and he's going to be falling into the abyss quite quickly. Here we have the Strength card. She's not trying to close the lion's mouth this time. She actually looks like she's trying to open the lion's mouth and to see what's inside. And it's because she's been tempted by the devil, because here we have the devil figure. So interesting. Here we have our Hermit, walking the road, walking the path all by himself. We have a snake coming up his staff. He's got his lantern. There's a golden egg right here by his feet, and there seems to be a snake wrapped around the golden egg. He looks absolutely gorgeous. He really does. I mean, he's quite serene and strong. The back of the card shows us we've got the eagle that jumps at me, that flying free. We've got the two dogs over here, so he's got his loyal companions, he's got his protection, he's got all of that. There's a crab. We can see the same snakes that are appearing there as well. And also the mountains. It's interesting, the challenges that lie ahead. The Wheel of Fortune. Really interesting depiction of the Wheel of Fortune, and the Magician makes an appearance again on the back of the card. So working with these cards is certainly going to be interesting, because how do you choose when you shuffle the cards and you turn them over, whether you turn them that way or that way? Hanged Man is not alone. Scythe, Mask, Snake. Interesting. Here we have the Death card. You know, the Death card is always one I look at when looking at a tarot deck to see if I actually like the tarot deck or not, because the Death card, you know, is the one card everybody doesn't want to get in a reading, but it's one that comes up so often. I like the fact that we've got the Roman numerals and not the word death, because, you know, if you're doing a reading for somebody and they read the word death, they tend to panic, whereas now they don't know what 13 means, you know, unless they're actual tarot readers themselves. But the card itself is not scary. We do have in the flag here, there is a little bit of the that white flower that is always symbolic in the flag, but otherwise there's nothing really awfully scary with the Death card. I'm dying to see what's on the other side. Turn it over. Oh my gosh, how fabulous is that? So the other side of the Death card is the sun, so bright, shining. We've got people sitting, holding the lotus leaf and holding the lily. We have a lady in her full nakedness dancing and celebrating. There is a black crow standing or sitting, or whatever crows do, on a skull, a human skull, and we have a bottle. So talking about all the riches and the lavish life and the endings. These two people are looking a little bit sad and mournful, but not excessively sad and mournful. But I love this naked playing in the background, because that just gives, you know, freedom and all of those kind of things, which is actually quite great. Right, so let me just flip through to the minor arcana. So the minor arcana cards, we have the symbol in the corner and the number in the other corner. Okay, we still have that flower symbol to let you know which is the right side up. So here we have the Ace of Cups. So we have the cups symbol, we have the ace there, the number there, and it is really a lovely card. White dove, the water flowing, all the lilies that are coming through, showing, you know, the struggle and the difficulties. And on the back end is exactly the same, but just the nighttime version of it, and everything is gone a little bit dark. And the interesting thing that I noticed there is that the chalice, or the symbol of the suit, and the number have swapped sides. So again, it's just another way of letting you know that you can determine which side you are looking. So behind here underneath, you can see, looking at the number 2 and the number 3, the chalices and the cups are on the left hand side, the numbers are on the right. But on this card that I have up on top, but they've swapped around because it's the back end of it. Right, so that's the cups. Next we have is the pentacles. Gosh, they really are. I love the imagery. Let's have a look at the Five of Pentacles, shall we? Five of Pentacles, the poverty card. The card, again, another one that we don't particularly like to receive, but it's one that comes up. So we've got, again, traditional kind of imagery here. We've got the church window. We've got the tree of life reflected in the church window. We've got the beggar sitting with his hand out saying, help me, help me, help me. Let's have a look on the back. So now we've gone inside the church, on the other side of the church window. How awesome. So here we have somebody who's obviously come from a better family, dressed so well. He's got a lantern in front of him, illuminating and shining. So he's not in the dark like this poor gentleman is. Okay, he's sitting in the dark all on his own. And inside, but it shows you that it doesn't matter if you're a beggar, it doesn't matter if you're a rich person, your struggles are all the same. Oh, absolutely, love, love, love. This could become my new favorite deck. I think I say that about every single deck. Right, going on to our wands. So we have the symbol again, and we have the number, and we have the little flower symbol for showing us front and back. Just doing a quick look through, just to see if there's anything that. Let's have a look at the Ten of Wands, because again it's one of those cards that I've always had a little bit of a different interpretation. And what's interesting here, I've always said to my students with the Ten of Wands that yes, the load is heavy and it's a difficult road and you're tired, you're exhausted and all of those kind of things, but I've always said that if you could just see what was directly in front of him, you would see that his end destination, his home, his place of rest for the day is just there. And now we can actually see it. So I'm interested to turn this one over and to see what they show us. Okay. So here we see him coming towards us. Here we see him from the behind view, and here we see him coming towards us. And here we have the stone statue standing there. I wonder what that represents. And that stone statue actually is him. So that's his shadow self. I'm going to say that that's his shadow self, because the clothing is exactly the same. Short pants, the shoes are the same, the hat that he's wearing, the headgear that he's wearing, everything is exactly the same. So it's almost like not only is he carrying the burden of his sticks, but he's carrying the burden of his shadow self. Love it. Right, let's have a look at what next. So next we have is our swords, everybody's dreaded swords. So that's quite interesting, the Ace of Swords with the huge big crown, giving you potential. The Two of Swords, I love that. We've got the red and the blue again on her swords. She's sitting at stormy waters. We've got lightning and everything. I'm going to flip it over to have a look. Okay. You see now from the back, it actually is so peaceful. Isn't it just gorgeous? Suddenly the waters are calm. suddenly she doesn't look like she's chained and blindfolded and burdened. These swords that you have just look quite peaceful. The big full moon is just absolutely gorgeous. The Three of Swords, the Heartbreak card. We have, is that a leaf, a bit of rose petals or something. See the rose petals or flesh, I can't see. But we've got the three swords that are piercing the heart, so quite, and we've got the rain coming down, the stormy clouds. So quite a traditional card. I'm curious to see what's on the other side. So what's on the other side now is the blue flower. So can you see this blue flower here? So the swords have pierced the shield, but the shield is actually shielding a little blue flower. And here we have a soldier who is kneeling down, paying homage or whatever it may be to the flowers. So it is the heartbreak and the end and the devastation, but at the behind the shield, protection, safety, etc. So that is actually quite awesome. All right, friends, so that is the ViceVersa Tarot. So the actual day-to-day usage, how do we use this deck? Because as I said to you now, my traditional way of shuffling would be to have the back of the cards facing up and to do the overhand shuffle. That is typically the way that I work, because my hands are small and working with cards is quite difficult. But the way that I'm shuffling it now, the front of the cards are all now facing up. So how do we then, when we dish the cards out, when we lay them out, how do we ensure that we get an even mix of front and back cards? Well, I think what I should do is take half the deck and flip it around. Okay, so we give it another shuffle, and I'm going to do that again. Take half the deck, which should take less than half, but I've turned it around. And some of the cards are bending a little bit, but that's because they are quite thin. I don't like to do the Las Vegas shuffle. I'm not very good at that, so I just do this way. Right, they want to flip over, I'm going to let them flip over. Normally if cards flip like that, you would have to turn them right way up, because you'd be having fronts and backs visible. So I'm going to just, let's take another lot, flip them around. So I'm trying to make sure that I give a good shuffle. Oops, flipping all over the place, flipping all over the place. Right, so now when it comes to choosing cards, if you were to fan the cards out to select cards, if you were to fan the cards out, you were going to end up seeing the cards and then obviously selecting based on colors, based on what you recognize. So that would be a bit of a challenge, isn't it? So how could we do this? Well, I think the best way would be, like now, to select from here as opposed to from the actual image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick 3 cards. Right, so we're going to ask the ViceVersa Tarot, what message do you have for us? What do you want us to know about you, about working with you, and your relationship with me? So let's see what the message the ViceVersa Tarot has for us today. First time reading with them, and I'm going to grab 3 cards randomly from here, and I'm just going to put them straight down. And I'm not flipping them over, I'm just straight out and straight down. Oh my golly gosh, right. Let's have a look. So the first thing, I am going to try and just zoom in on the screen so that you can see, just to make life a little bit easier for you. I hope it's clear, and that the camera has in fact zoomed there for you. Right, so let's have a look. The first thing that I notice is all three of my cards that have come through are the right way up. So I don't have the back of any of the cards. So we have the 7 of Swords. That's the first card that's come through here, is the 7 of Swords. Actually, I think I need to zoom out of it. I don't think it's clear enough. So we have the 7 of Swords, I have the Sun, and I have the 3 of Swords, which is quite interesting. So 2 swords and the Major Arcana. So the 7 of Swords is the thievery card. It's the card of of knowing, planning, strategizing, establishing what you want to do with it. And I think, yeah, remember the question, the ViceVersa Tarot, what do you want me to know? How are we going to work together? And I think it's saying that you've got to have a plan. Don't just dive in without knowing exactly what you want to get out of it. Don't just dive in and expect to figure it out. You have to have some strategy. You have to have some kind of plan of action. The Sun is confirming that this is a wonderful deck for me. It's confirming that the deck would be awesome to work with. And then the Three of Swords, which is the Heartbreak card, is maybe saying that because it's going to be slightly a bit of a challenge to work with this deck, that I might find it initially a little bit frustrating. So I'm going to take this card as frustration and heartbreak, and just because I do tend to be a little bit impatient. I do tend to be the kind of person who wants to get things right the first time round. And so I think it's telling me to be patient. I think it's telling me to not be so hard on myself, because I am going to just jump in. I am going to jump in and try and figure it out. And yes, it is a good deck for me, but I am going to face some challenges. So just as a confirmation, let's just do one more shuffle and one more card, because I really want to get some reversed card, because I don't have one and I want one. So let's shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Make sure I do it on camera that you can see, and I'm just grabbing that card. Oh, and I didn't get one. So here, see, she all disappointedly, huh? So here I've got the Four of Pentacles, and the Four of Pentacles is saying to me, just everything's cool, stability, secure, stable, everything's fine, but patience, patience, my dear, patience. So that's awesome, friends. Thank you for watching. Just to show you the box, the ViceVersa Tarot. I do hope you have enjoyed my little unbox. If you have any questions on the deck that I could possibly ask, feel free to ask it. Please subscribe to my channel, like and share the video, and look out for the next one. Lots of love and blessings.